It's Woody Arnold, and I like comics. And today I'm looking at Doctor Strange, the Doctor Strange #1, the new one from Marvel. I should have turned down my screen, um, but or not. Well, whatever the case. Goofed that one up, didn't I? So yeah, the new Doctor Strange #1 from Marvel Comics, and this is also by Mark Waid, which my last video turned out. Boy, this guy is getting around. So it's the story is called Sorcerer Supreme of the Galaxy Part 1. Artist is Jesus Ciaz. I don't know say it says, but it's interesting. This one's a bit weird because just recently there was a major story arc called The Death of Magic, where a technological based religious zealot got a whole bunch of guys together, and they were going from universe to universe, alternate Earths, presumably, destroying magic in those worlds, and rendering them magically inert, and killing and persecuting and just basically massacring the practitioners of magic. Now, I didn't see how the story ended. The first one didn't really grab me too much because I didn't like how magic was being handled in that universe. Like, I'm definitely in the camp just being more of a RPG gamer. I like the idea of like you cast your spells, boom, they had this whole thing of the price of magic, and you have to do things, and what they were doing to make Doctor Strange be the Sorcerer Supreme and do what he was doing. It was not the Doctor Strange that for me, though I know there were people that definitely loved it, but it just it kind of flies in the face of established continuity, and this one seems to be more of a classic Doctor Strange. But what's interesting about it is in this one, Doctor Strange it starts out with Doctor Strange battling an elder god and not defeating him, but outwitting him, being able to hurt him and then trap him in the universe he came from and preventing him from hurting Earth, and totally overconfident, knowing what he can do and handling everything, and it's all cool. And then it comes to 7 years later, and Doctor Strange has this problem where he is basically burned out his connection to magic. Presumably, doesn't really give an explanation why. That noise you hear in the background is my dog sneezing. She's okay. So it doesn't really give an explanation why, other than that the possibility, it's kind of Tony Stark implies he may have just burned himself out and overdid it. They talk about how his magic energies have waxed and waned a little bit, and some of the scenes do a callback to the last days of magic. So it's obvious that event had occurred. But it's weird because we just did this. Like, Tony Stark ends the book completely depleted of magic. All the stuff in his Sanctum Sanctorum have lost all their power, or at least he can't touch it. Like, maybe it's still like that, but he has no access to it. But it's the exact same freaking story. Anyways. But he's essentially lost his power with no explanation why. It's just because. And it's even going so far as that his hands he can no longer compensate for the crippled hands, and now he can't hold a coffee cup. So, and he's just going to settle into being a normal guy, and which again gets into the flaw of Doctor Strange, where he could just become a general practitioner, and have people say and just anyways, you can make a good living doing that. So he goes and meets with Iron Man, and Iron Man comes up with the idea that, and actually he just wants to meet Iron Man to go, well, how did you survive your alcoholism, and getting over all that. And he was kind of like treating his loss of magic as recovering from magic addiction almost. And Tony Stark says, no, man, I got a spaceship for you. You go hop in the spaceship, you go travel the galaxy and talk to other wizards, and maybe you'll find your answer. Get your powers back. And he's like, okay, I'll do that. And because normally Doctor Strange, when because he talks about how his magic has waxed and waned, and how whenever he had issues, he would just go to another universe and pick up some stuff. And Tony's like, we'll go to another planet then. And as I kind of mentioned in my last video, this somewhat betrays the flaw of comics, where you have all these super genius characters, and they have, like, the tech level of society would not stay stagnant. It would not still be the same world. Because, like, comic books are always the world we see. It's our universe. But yet they have these super geniuses that can make spaceships and Iron Man armor and and God knows what else. And society doesn't change. The tech level never changes. It's still weirdly stagnant in the face of these people who would be selling their crazy super science stuff and making billions upon trillions of dollars, and society's tech level would advance, because we see it happen here in like some events on iPhone, and suddenly bam, everybody's making it. Now Androids exist, and now Microsoft has their phone. We make an iPod, and it's just now everybody's doing it, and it's just you make an airplane. Now everybody has airplanes, and so, but that has nothing to do with the story. That's just my issues with this. But Tony Stark has this Iron Man themed spaceship that apparently can use wormholes to travel, and gives an Iron Man themed spacesuit to Doctor Strange, and he excuse me, and he flies out now. And this is where it gets weird, because you've got a whole galaxy, and he leaves our galaxy and goes to the Shi'ar galaxy. Why? What possible reason would there be to go to a different galaxy in a ship, which is, and the ship can do this apparently, and it is, I don't know, shit, as big as a camper, and apparently this ship, right, flies past. It's heading for a planet, and instead of flying to the planet it's headed for, it flies past another planet, and then hits an asteroid. Now, you're telling me that a ship which has the technology to fly to an entirely another galaxy and sustain Doctor Strange for that trip, which apparently is really fast, okay, doesn't take him years, it takes him days, and he can, because this thing does not have enough space for food, and he can make that trip and somehow cannot avoid running into another star system that's not on his course, and somehow cannot protect itself against a freaking asteroid impact, and he gets crashing on this planet. It's like, it's, okay, I might check out number 2. Again, this looks like a solid sci-fi story, but the premise is so goddamn flawed in this book. I might check out the next one. I don't know. It's definitely not as good as the last Mark Waid, the Ant-Man book I reviewed. But I am curious to see what happens next. I may check it out, but it's just like the entire premise is just flawed, and I don't know what to make of this book. If you like Doctor Strange, this might not be the book for you, because he doesn't cast a lot of spells. So, anyways, it was well executed, kind of a fun read. If you take this book as a brand new story, straight off the shelf as itself, and you're not familiar with anything that came before, it's a great story, and I probably would be hooked enough to read number 2. If you know what's happened before, then it doesn't work. But the thing is like right now, when they're doing a Doctor Strange book, nobody cares about continuity. There's no consistency. There's already been, like 2 or 3 Doctor Strange stories so far, and none of them really connect. Like while dealing with the Last Days of Magic issue, in the tie-in for, the evil Steve Rogers story, he had all his powers back, even though he had been depleted in the previous one. So it's just, I don't know what's going on over at Marvel, but just as a story by itself for Doctor Strange, not bad, not too shabby. So yeah, if you like Doctor Strange, maybe pick it up.